What's going on, guys? And today I'll be teaching you one of the greatest easy card tricks of all time. Let's get into it. First, I'll give you a little performance of the trick. Now what I'm going to have is I'm going to pick out a few special cards. And to save time, I've picked them out in advance. And as you can see, all these cards are different. They're not, marked. I'm telling you personally that they're not marked in any way. And what's going to happen is we're going to have a spectator select a card. Now since I don't have a spectator here, I'll select the card myself. And during the editing, I'll check if the card selected was right. So we have this card selected. Okay. Now, before I put this back in, I'll shuffle the deck up a little bit so it's in no particular order. Okay. And we're going to take this card and put it anywhere back in the deck. So let's just say here. Now the card is lost somewhere in the deck. At this point, I'd give it to the spectator so they'd also be allowed to shuffle the deck. But since I don't have a spectator here, I'll shuffle the deck myself. Okay. So now the whole key of this trick is to find the spectator's card. And usually I do a bit of a build-up, but since this is just a slight performance case, I'll just pick out your card, which I selected. So if I'm correct, the card should have been the Nine of Spades. And this can be done with any deck, and I did not know the card was Nine of Spades. I'm really hoping it was the Nine of Spades. I'll really have to just check in the editing. But yeah, let's get into how it's done. Now the key of this trick is what cards are selected in this packet. And let me go over a few examples of the cards I selected to be in this packet. All the cards in this packet have some kind of direction. So let's take the Six of Spades, for example. So as we can see, we have the Six of Spades here, and it has, 6 spades on it. And we can see 4 of them are facing upwards, while 2 of them are facing down. So that's how the cards are selected. If we also take a look at, let's say, 5 of hearts. So we have 3 hearts that are facing in the right direction, while 2 of the hearts are upside down. So all the cards that I've selected all have some kind of direction. In case of, let's say, 7 of hearts, it's very easy to tell the direction since it has 5 hearts grouped here facing upwards and 2 down. So all the cards that I've selected have a sense of direction. And now if you take a look at 2 of hearts, for example, we have 1 heart downwards and 1 heart upwards. So you really can't use the trick because there's no, one single direction. So what happens is once all these cards are selected, you pick them out yourself, of course. Once you create this packet, you can have a spectator pick out a card. Okay, and let's say they pick out the Ace of Clubs. And we can see the Ace of Clubs is in an upward direction. So now when we shuffle the deck, the entire deck is upwards, and we see this Ace of Clubs is also upwards. And for those of you who are watching the performance carefully, would have definitely seen that I turned the deck over at one point. So what happened now is all the cards are facing downwards. Like the 5 of hearts, we have 3 hearts facing down. 7 of hearts, we have 5 of the hearts facing down. 6 of spades, we have 4 of the spades facing down. So all of these cards are now facing downwards, while the Ace of Clubs is still facing upwards. So it really doesn't matter where the spectator puts the card back. Let's just say he puts it back here. We just close up this deck and we'll give it a shuffle. What's up, guys? So one thing I forgot to mention earlier is when the spectator picks out a card, make sure you're keeping an eye out for if they, rotate the card 180 degrees or how they're putting it back in the deck. Because if they put it back in the deck, rotated 180 degrees, and you have also rotated the deck, then the trick isn't going to work. So if they rotate you don't really have to rotate the deck, and if they don't rotate, then you do have to rotate the deck. So just a very important side note, because you know, if they do end up rotating and you rotate also, it's going to cancel out the whole effect of the trick. So back to the video. And the spectator could also shuffle. Just one thing to keep in mind is they don't try to do some kind of, you know, riffle shuffle where, you know, they take one half like this, one half like this, and mix them up this way. Because that'll be a problem. There'll be multiple cards facing up and down. So when you give it to them to shuffle, you could say, you know, just give the card, you know, hand them the cards and say, give the deck a bit of a shuffle. Or even give them a sort of performance, or, you know, give the deck a bit of a shuffle, just like that. And you don't have to shuffle it, but it just, you know, adds to the trick. So now you know all the cards are in the downward facing direction, aside from the Ace of Clubs. And that is the trick. Now, just before I conclude the trick, I have a few tips on the performance, since I didn't really talk about the actual performance of the trick that much. So just a few tips on the performance, and then that'll be it. Now, since I didn't really talk about performance during the trick, I'm going to give you a few performance tips that I use on when I actually perform the trick. So now when you're selecting the cards that you're going to use, let's just say we have a few cards in this deck, you could casually just say I have, you know, there's some cards that I have a connection with. So let me pick out a few cards. So in this case, you'd pick out, you know, whatever cards that have, you know, the direction. And you want to make sure, of course, when you're picking the cards out, that they're all facing the same way. So in my case, since I just did the trick, they are all facing the same way. However, of course, if you've been using the deck, they're definitely not going to be facing all the same way. So if you have some cards, let's say I have a few cards facing, you know, the wrong way, when I'm going through this packet again, I'll just casually just go up and just rotate the cards. That's it. So nothing really big to it. If they're a person who does not know Magic, then they're not going to pay any attention to it whatsoever, as long as you do it with confidence. So now once we have these packet of cards, and I'll put in the description below what cards I use, if you guys, you know, don't want to go through the whole thing yourself. I'll have in the description the cards I use. So now we have them select a card, whatever method you like. We have this card selected. In our case, it's the 3 of clubs. Now what I do during this point while they have the card is I give the packet a shuffle. I turn it around and I give it another shuffle. So this way, while I'm doing something non-suspicious, I'm also doing the move to, you know, get everything into position. And from here, the trick is pretty much self-working, aside from just you having to do a bit of performance. Now we'll take this card and we'll put it back in the deck. And now when I'll usually give it to the spectator to shuffle. And like I was saying in the tutorial, when you give it to the spectator to shuffle, make sure you show them how to shuffle the deck. Because we don't want them doing like a casino style, you know, wash where all the cards are mixed up like that. So make sure, whatever shuffle they do, just make sure that they're all facing the same direction. Now what I'll do now is I'll have a quick run through of the cards, so this way I'll know what card they picked. And the card is of course going to be either in this half or this half. And whatever half the card's not in, I'll just do some kind of like a psychic thing and say, you know, the card is not in this packet. That means the card has to be somewhere here. And going through that one more time, the card is not in this packet. So we have the card somewhere here. Okay? And now what I'll do is, I'll break this into about 3 different packets. So 1, 2, 3. And here I'll do something that's called a magician's choice. And a magician's choice is pretty much, I'm going to ask the spectator to pick a packet. And they can pick any packet, but only this packet has their card. So now let's say they pick this packet, this is the packet we'll continue with, and these two will be put aside. But now, if they say this packet, for example, what we're going to do is we're going to take this packet and throw it to the side. And then if they say this packet, we'll take this packet, throw it to the side, and we're left with just this packet. But now if they say this packet, we put it to the side, and if they say this packet, then we'll go with this packet, and we'll put this packet to the side. So whatever they choose, we always want the outcome to be this packet. And a way that you can have them pick this packet immediately is give them some kind of indication that you want them to pick a packet. So either with your hand gestures or things like that, you could say, now from these packets, I want you to select one packet. And generally people, would lean towards whatever card you hit. So let's say I want you to pick, but of course it can't seem weird, I want you to pick one packet. That would be weird. So just say I want you to pick one packet. And we'll say if these cards are located here, I want you to pick one packet, then they'll go for this packet. Now this of course doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works, I'd say, about 50% of the time that I've done it. So I mean, it's a pretty good shot. So now once here, this is actually one of my favorite parts. We're down to 2 cards. So now I ask the spectator, I want you to select one card. Most people pick the card that's not their card. Now at this point, since I said that, they're going to be thinking, their card is the 3 of clubs, remember. So this time they're going to be thinking, so most people pick the card that is not their card. So if I pick this card, he'll know this is my card. So maybe I should pick this card. Or maybe he wants me to pick this card, that's why he said to pick this card. So it'll really throw them off. And let's say they pick the card that's not their card. So let's say they pick this card. Then you could tell them, I told you, most people pick the card that's not their card. And that's exactly what you did. And your card is the 3 of clubs. Or if they pick this card, say, the reason I say most people do not pick their card is because then this way people will pick their card. And that card goes to the side, and then here, we're left with their card. And that's it for the trick, guys. I'm not 100% sure, actually I'm 0% sure what this trick is called, so I couldn't really get a name out there for you, and I can't search up on like Google, exactly what card trick this is. So I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Leave a comment down below if you want, more card tricks, or tell me the names of what card tricks you want me to cover. And that's it, guys. See you in the next video.